Good morning. It is Thrifty Thursday. Did I do a vlog yesterday? No, I don't think I did. I think my weight stayed the same yesterday, which was day 2 of P4. And then today I had a 0.2 release. So now I've released 0.8 of the most recent gains that I've had. I had like 1.8 gain during my during Tom. So 0.8 of that's gone. I got another pound to go. I got 3 weeks to do it. I'm still trying to get to 167 by the end of this P4. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know, but I'm going to try. So, for Thrifty Thursday, I did not do my vlog again showing you all my most recent goodies that I've gotten through purchases of either Sears Outlet or my freebie items or my Ann Taylor items, because I'm going to talk about something different today, which is sort of a Thrifty Thursday, but also because I'm trying to get to work early, because I have a phone consultation scheduled this morning, and this is going to be with a new RE, which is a reproductive endocrinologist, not the one that I've been working with over the past couple years. And I'll start with saying that the one that I have been working with is amazing, and I love her, and there's nothing wrong with her per se. There's no reason why I'm looking elsewhere except for perhaps a Thrifty Thursday reason. Now, of course, when it comes to my fertility, I'm not looking for the cheapest rate, because, you know, you often get what you pay for. So it's not necessarily about the money 100%, but there's a lot of factors to consider. So I think that I've mentioned before, my infertility issues are not covered by medical insurance, my husband's nor my policy. There's loopholes in the law which prevents people from getting the coverage they need, and in often cases, the medical industry or whomever does not view infertility as a medical issue. So they do not feel that people who are struggling to have children deserve to have insurance cover it, whatever testing or diagnostics they need. And, you know, that was a tough pill for me to swallow initially. I had no idea that it wouldn't be covered. And you know, it's a tough pill to swallow, to have to pay cash out of pocket for any type of treatments. Now, fortunately, my husband's insurance did cover some diagnostics. So I carried a double policy for a couple years, where I kept my policy and I kept my policy and I was on his policy, which was very costly, but it did cover a couple surgeries and it did cover some testing. So for that, I am grateful. It did save us some money. However, we have spent a small fortune. So basically, this upcoming IVF cycle, which is in vitro fertilization, which is where they hyperstimulate me through thousands of dollars of medications to get me to produce as many eggs as possible in one cycle, and then they surgically remove those eggs, and then they take my husband's sperm and put it in a petri dish and let it, you know, do its thing and fertilize those eggs. Now, typically what happens in an IVF case, I don't know the exact numbers or percentages, but just a rough estimate. Let's say that they got 10 eggs out of me, which would be a lot for a woman my age. It'd probably be less than that, but let's say they got 10. Often, a little more than half of them fertilize, so I'd be maybe lucky if 5 to 7 of those fertilize. And then you have to wait to see if they make it to, you know, a certain stage. Like they want 5 cells. They're called blastocysts. And it depends on what clinic you go through, but I think that a lot of them won't even use the fertilized egg unless it makes it to a blastocyst stage. So, you know, sometimes you might even lose some of those 5 or 7 that fertilized, and you might end up with 2 or 3. Well, a woman my age, they would implant 2 or 3 of those in me at once, because I'll be lucky if one takes. So all of this to end up with maybe 1 baby. Maybe. And I don't mean to make it sound bleak. It's just I'm a realist, and as much as I want to be optimistic about it and hopeful, and I will be, I also need to be realistic, and I am not going to produce the same results as a 20 or 30-year-old woman. Statistically, 18% to 20% of women my age will walk away with a baby after going through this process. So I hate saying that number, but, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, back to my Thrifty Thursday story. The cost of doing IVF here, including medications, is going to run us about $15,000. We've been saving for a long time, putting money in the bank, putting money in the bank, putting money in the bank to go through this process. You know, we would have done this a long time ago if we had not had to save for it, or if insurance would have covered it or whatever. We would have definitely done this a long time ago, but that wasn't in our cards. So here we are. And we are ready to, you know, go ahead and put the money down and kind of get moving with this very quickly. And right around the time that I was getting ready to, like, you know, kind of make the final arrangements, get the last final test with my doctor's office, got an email from a website, from a clinic that I was looking into a few years ago when I started researching IVF and our different possibilities and options. And what I was researching was something called IVF vacations or IVF abroad. You might have heard of something called medical tourism. And that's where people in the United States go seek medical treatment outside of the country because of the outrageous costs of treatment in the United States. And so it could be like dental work or surgeries or whatever. I mean, some people go and get cancer treatment. I mean, I don't know, anything that's just, you know, it's just so expensive here that sometimes it makes sense to go elsewhere to do it. And so I had been researching that. And, you know, there may be some drawbacks to that. And I was just a little nervous about going away to do IVF, because when you do IVF, it takes several weeks to go through the stimming process, the stimulation of your eggs. You're doing daily injections, and those daily injections required sometimes daily ultrasounds and monitoring and sonograms to see how you're responding to the medication. So it's not like you just go do the IVF and you would come home. You need to be gone for a while. And that part stressed me out because I was afraid a lot of IVF depends on how your body responds. They can force and manipulate to a certain extent, but ultimately it's up to your body and how it wants to respond on timing of everything. So that part, you know, made me a little nervous. You couldn't just say, okay, I'm going to go here for these dates and, you know, come home on this date and book a trip and plan your hotel and plan your airfare and all that if you didn't necessarily know how your body was going to respond. And so when I got this email from this clinic, it kind of just went, you know, it kind of enticed me a little bit. So I mentioned it to my husband, and he said, why don't you go back and look at it again? And I said, well, I really don't want to go full circle again. I mean, I had done a lot of research years ago, and it took a long time to do the research, and we've been to a lot of doctors, and it took a while to finally pick the doctor that we went to, and blah, blah, blah. And so the idea of going back and revisiting, I felt like we would be wasting time doing that. But we still had a little bit of a window of time before we were going to actually start this IVF cycle, because we still had a little bit more money to save. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just utilize this time wisely and go ahead and look at this clinic again and find out some information and do some number crunching and just take one last look before I absolutely ruled it out. When I took this last look, it became very enticing, and it almost became a why not. So Today, me and my husband are going to have a consultation with the doctor at that clinic. The clinic is well, before I go any further, anybody that knows me in real life, I am not sharing this with anybody in real life. I might tell my family and friends that I'm going away on vacation for a couple weeks, but I don't know that I'm going to tell them at this point in time that we're going to do IVF, because what I don't want to have to do is give updates and tell them what's going on. The whole point of doing IVF abroad and medical tourism and IVF vacations is to take the stress out of the process. And some of the stress during the process is having to update everybody. They want to know what's going on, how you're doing, and that's very stressful to me. So unless I'm doing it willingly and freely without people having that expectation on me, which is what I'll be doing if we do this. So I am not telling anybody. So for the couple people that have my vlog, that know me in real life, this is not information I'm sharing with anybody. So you know, because you're on my vlog, but nobody else is going to know, I don't think. So the clinic that we're looking at is in Barbados. And for the cost of what it would be for us to do IVF here in the United States, for the IVF, the surgery, the medications, we can, for the exact same price, nearly the same price, if not less, go to Barbados for a 2-week vacation, flying first class, having oceanfront accommodations, and the IVF itself for the same amount of money. And my thought process here is 2 weeks oceanfront. Hello. I mean, if I did IVF here, I would literally be going to doctor's appointments on the way to work or in the middle of my work day and then going back to work. I wouldn't be taking 2 weeks off of work. So I think the mere fact that I'll be on an island, a tropical island in the Caribbean, oceanfront with my husband, with no other cares in the world except to get this treatment done, is very enticing and very good for me in terms of stress. Stress definitely plays into infertility. It can mess, because it messes, we know this, it can play into weight loss, it can play into whatever, because it messes with your hormones. Cortisol is a stress hormone, so it can, you know, it can do a number on you. So, you know, the idea of doing this and not having to worry about life, everyday life in general, seems very smart and wise to me. The other part of that is that they incorporate like a natural, holistic type approach with the IVF. So I can also, while I'm there, for extra money, it's not included in the package, but not for much more, incorporate a package which includes, you know, acupuncture and massages and just things, meditation, things to like help relax me and promote and encourage the success of the IVF cycle. And I am a very holistic girl. I did do acupuncture treatments for a while when I was trying to address this infertility. You know, I'm a yoga girl. I'm all into this type of stuff. So I think that incorporating that into the cycle is also a very wise and great approach, and probably will contribute to a lot of the successes that they see at that clinic. And then finally, the last part of it is, you know, if we do IVF here and it fails, we have nothing. It's it. It's over. We went through a medical procedure. We have nothing. No baby, no nothing. If we do IVF on a vacation, then at least we got a 2-week vacation out of it if it fails. And maybe that's not such a tough pill to swallow. I mean, of course, either way, it's going to be crushing for it not to work. But I think that it's really, I don't know why I'm so focused on the money, and I shouldn't be, because we can't take it with us when we die, and it's just money, and I should not be focused on it. But I am a very frugal person, and I'm always looking to be cost effective and save money. And I don't go out and just spend money like crazy. And so for me to go and spend all of this money for us, for me and my husband, to do this and take all of this hard-earned money. I mean, we've made sacrifices to put this money away. Unfortunately, we both